A group of young teenage boys are currently being operated on in an abandoned hospital that is in a wretched state. The lights flicker erratically, and they cast shadows on the stained walls. The place appears more like a chamber of torment than a psychiatric facility. Disturbingly, scratch marks from long-gone patients cover the surfaces, telling of horrifying incidents that happened to them. The tender age of the boys contrasts sharply with the chilling environment, making their presence all the more unsettling. Among them is a boy wearing a peculiar mask that serves as a visual representation of his harrowing condition. All of a sudden, a young boy rushes into the room. A mixture of fear and desperation consumes him, his heart pounding loudly in his chest. Trembling with fear, he grabs a sharp wooden object. With a burst of emotion, he pushes the object, splashing blood all over the room. After that chilling scene, we shift to Michael, a young boy in his 20s who loves to travel but unfortunately isn't financially strong, and because of this, he has to opt for illegal ways to survive. Currently, he is in his hometown Medellin, where he can't find a place to sleep. In the search, he sees a car that is unlocked. He quickly gets into the car and instead of stealing it, he starts to sleep in it. His dreams are disturbed by the shout and anger of the owner of the car, who has returned and is furious to see Michael in it. He takes Michael as an intruder and is about to teach him a lesson. A young teen girl, however, stops him. Michael is surprised that someone is standing up for him, and especially since it's a girl, which he never expected. She tells the man that Michael was only sleeping, and if he really was a criminal, he would have stolen the car. The man thinks for a while and leaves Michael alone. Michael, feeling relieved, goes to the girl that saved him and thanks her. She introduces herself as Melody. They talk, and Michael tells her how he loves to travel. Melody finds Michael interesting and gives him her number. Interestingly, she also gives him an address of a location where she says that a grand party will be taking place. Moreover, the head of the party can help him get some money. At night, Michael arrives at the given address and instantly regrets his decision. Upon his arrival, he sees an abandoned hospital in front of him. The abandoned hospital appears like a desolate monument of darkness. Its decaying walls bear witness to forgotten horrors, and eerie whispers echo within its haunted halls. The chilling presence of the past will forever haunt those who have been there before. However, Michael gathers up the guts to enter the hospital. When he enters the hospital, he sees stains on the walls, and definitely doesn't see any party going on. He decides to leave the hospital, but suddenly hears the footsteps of a man walking. He sees a drunk masked young teen guy, whom he asks about the party. He comes closer to him and signals him toward a path. He follows it, and gets surprised when he sees a full-fledged party going on. He tries to get involved in it, but notices that Melody isn't present at the party. He starts to search for her when the leader of the party, Jacob, sees him and calls him over. Michael asks him about Melody, and he answers that there is no Melody there. Michael thinks that he has reached the wrong address, and turns back to leave, but Jacob stops him, claiming that it doesn't matter and he can enjoy the party. Michael feels a bit awkward, but doesn't leave. Suddenly, Melody arrives. Jacob acts like he doesn't remember Melody, which makes Michael feel a bit suspicious about Jacob. However, Michael starts to enjoy the party with Melody. He enjoys it so much that he gets drunk, and Melody drags him to bed. He wakes up the next morning in confusion, as he doesn't remember the events of last night. Upon waking up, he sees Melody right beside him, which makes him feel good. Melody tells him about how he got drunk, and how he was behaving like a maniac last night. Michael feels a little embarrassed, but continues the conversation. Their conversation is interrupted by Jacob, who is happy to see that Michael is awake. Melody soon leaves, and Jacob and Michael are alone. Jacob decides to give Michael a tour of the abandoned place. Jacob tells Michael that this was a psychiatric hospital before, and a patient committed. Listening to this disturbs Michael, and he is not comfortable with Jacob either. He continues as Jacob allows him to stay at the hospital, which Michael doesn't want to, but due to unfortunate circumstances, he has no choice. At night, the party resumes, and Michael gets drunk once again. He consumes alcohol so much that he starts to throw up and immediately runs to the restroom. He starts to experience some disturbing visions, and when he reaches the restroom, he sees a huge creepy spider crawling on the toilet seat. He runs to another washroom and sees a snake in it. These are all just visions of Michael, and in reality, there is no spider or snake present. In a panic, Michael reaches the room where the heart-wrenching took place, and he faints there. One of Jacob's sidekicks sees Michael and takes him to Jacob, where Jacob shows Michael the mirror reflection of himself. Jacob asks Michael to shoot his reflection. Michael, in unconsciousness, shoots, and the moment he shoots, Jacob welcomes Michael to the city of deceased men. The truth is that Jacob mixed some chemicals in Michael's drink, which made him unconscious, allowing Jacob to get a hold of him. The main question that arises is why Jacob did something like this. The next day, Michael, once again, doesn't remember what happened last night, but Jacob only tells him that he got high and takes Michael for a walk. Michael tells Jacob that he resides in Medellin because he was born there, and always wanted to return back home. He also reveals that his mother passed away when he was only 5, and his non-loving father took him away. Suddenly, he sees that same creepy big spider on the side of the table he is having food on. Jacob notices this with an evil smile, but then diverts Michael's attention by saying that he has also come back to Medellin because he feels good there. Michael turns back casually and sees the horrific face of an old man behind him. He suddenly shakes his head and sees everything as normal. Jacob, meanwhile, starts to talk about religion, and after this, he does something that shocks Michael. Jacob goes to the parking lot where that same old man is present. Jacob acts as if he is asking for the address, but gets closer to him and knocks him down to steal the money with which he would be paying the bills. He comes to Michael and tells him this is the way to live, and that he will train him. Michael reluctantly agrees. The gang of Jacob assembles on an empty road with skateboards in hand. Michael feels afraid and nervous about the upcoming ride. One of the girls makes fun of him, which angers him, but he tries to stay calm. Seeing Michael's distress, Jacob steps in and tries to defuse the situation. He suggests they all pull down their masks and ride together. Michael takes a deep breath and decides to give it a try. As they start skating down the road, Michael is a little afraid, but the thrill of the ride slowly takes over. The support and laughter of his friends eases his nerves, making him feel less alone in facing this challenge. With every turn and twist, Michael gains confidence. The girl's teasing becomes less significant as he realizes she might have intended it as motivation. Jacob's encouragement empowers him. Together, they ride down the road, forming a tight-knit group of skateboarders. The empty road transforms into a playground of adventure and friendship. As they reach the end of the road, Michael feels a sense of accomplishment and pride. Overcoming his fear has been a valuable lesson for him. The gang gathers around, celebrating the experience and congratulating Michael on facing his fear. Michael starts to enjoy his new life. He attends parties at night and does skating with his new friends. This is all he wants, but the paranormal events continue to happen. To make Michael feel good, Melody challenges him to a wheelchair race, and the moment the race starts, she locks his wheelchair and disappears. He chases her to a room where he finds the creepy mask that, earlier, we saw the strange child was wearing during his sleep. He asks Melody where she found it, and she leads him to the room where the medical reports of all the mental teen boys are kept. Michael finds the report of Mauricio Rojas, who wore this same old creepy mask. This makes Michael feel uneasy, and he leaves. One night, he wakes up in the middle of the night and sees that a child wearing a creepy mask is right beside his bed. When he tries to touch him, that strange child disappears, and a ghostly girl enters his room with a knife and starts to stab him. He puts his hand up and starts to resist and shout. Suddenly, he hears some shouts and realizes that he has the same knife in his hand, and that his friend is trying to stop him. He gets a bit concerned, but somehow sleeps. The next day he meets Melody, and she asks him about his family. He tells her about his mother and father, and his late younger brother Daniel. Michael thinks that he is the culprit, as Michael wanted him to swim. He pushed his brother into the water, but unfortunately, Daniel, and he blames himself to this very day. Melody feels sorry for him and takes him to a pool nearby, where they both start to enjoy the pool, but suddenly Michael sees Daniel's body floating along with him. This disturbs him, and he runs away from the pool. When Melody angrily follows, Michael tells her about the things he is seeing and how they are bothering him. Melody calms him and takes him back to his new home. Michael starts his research about Mauricio Rojas and starts reviewing his clips, where he finds out that the boy wore the mask as he felt secure while wearing it. He also sees that the doctors forcefully took his mask off, meaning that the doctors didn't use it to treat the patients. A newspaper that was published reported and blamed the doctors for the boy. This all becomes very creepy for Michael, and he visits a local priest who keeps all sacred things with him. He tells Michael that this is a curse forcing a person to commit, and many people's spirits are in a trap because of this. A person who has proper knowledge of all the events that took place can feel the spirits contacting. Michael is in conversation with him when one of his psychics comes to him and says that Jacob is calling him. Jacob tells him that he has heard that he has been seeing things. On this, Michael reveals all the events that have been taking place with him, and Jacob reveals that this happens with all of them, and that they can only overcome this by having no fear in their hearts. That night, Jacob takes him to a trail nearby and tells him the importance of it. According to their elders, whoever crosses this trail can overcome his fears, and perishing won't matter to him, and that person will become one of them. As dozens of fast, heavy bikes unexpectedly cross their path, Michael instinctively leaps away, seeking safety. In contrast, Jacob stands his ground, chuckling fearlessly, and miraculously suffers no harm as the bikes speed by. Intrigued by everything that's going on, Jacob playfully pushes Michael back into the midst of the oncoming bikes, and yet again, a barrage of them appears out of nowhere. Initially gripped by fear, Michael finds something deep within him, a newfound strength that allows him to conquer his transform it into laughter. In this moment, Michael becomes a real member of the crew too, a feat that brings immense joy to Jacob, leading him to throw a jubilant party to celebrate their shared transformation. The party starts with a full swing, and Michael even gets a tattoo of the logo on his chest. Melody soon arrives, but isn't happy to see the transformation of Michael. She talks to him about his transformation, and how she doesn't like this, but Michael talks to her in a rude way, and she leaves the party. Michael realizes that he has hurt her and goes after her to apologize. In frustration, he looks around for her, but sees a glimpse of his brother Daniel. He chases the spirit of his brother, and soon finds himself behind him. He touches him and sees that the boy isn't his brother, but a demon in reality. This sends shivers down his spine, and he runs to save his life. He soon reaches a pool nearby, and stops there to take a rest. Suddenly, a hand comes out from the pool and drags him inside. He tries to get out, but isn't able to, and enters into the further realm where he sees many spirits trapped. He now believes what that priest said, and he passes out. The sun rises on a day that will forever haunt Michael's memory. He awakens to the piercing screams of his friends nearby, and as he tries to gather his bearings, he realizes that he is outside, lying by the pool. Confused and anxious, he follows the anguished cries to their source, only to be confronted with a heart-wrenching truth: his dear friend Vince has tragically taken his. A wave of sorrow washes over Michael as he stands in disbelief amidst the turmoil. Strange and sinister drawings cover the walls of Vince's room, the very same drawings that the priest revealed to him earlier, filling him with an eerie sense of fear. How could it be that these seemingly innocent sketches now bear witness to such a dark event? Seeking solace and understanding, Michael turns to Jacob, hoping to find comfort in their shared grief. However, he is taken aback to see that Jacob remains seemingly unaffected by the tragedy. His friend's demeanor remains unchanged, and it sends shivers down Michael's spine. Haunted by questions and fearing for his well-being, Michael's mind races. Could there be a sinister connection between the drawings, Vince's, and himself? Is he now in danger? The uncertainty gnaws at his sanity, pushing him to seek answers from the priest. Trepidation fills his every step as Michael rushes to find the priest, desperate to understand the meaning behind the drawings and the tragic events that have unfolded. The weight of the unknown hangs heavily on his heart as he wonders if he, too, is at risk of falling into the same darkness that claimed his friend's life. Amidst grief and fear, Michael's quest for truth and salvation begins as he navigates through a world suddenly filled with shadows and uncertainty. The priest suggests Michael take immediate action and starts a spiritual process. The priest's assistant gives him something to eat and starts demonic music, and he starts to recall every moment of his life. He recalls how he pushed his brother and how he came to the hospital. He further recalls how he met Melody and how his life has reached its worst. He recalls all this, and this gives him chills. He suddenly gets up, still unconscious, and leaves. He reaches his shop and finds the shop messed up. The assistant tries to find the priest, and what he sees makes him traumatized. He sees that the priest has committed, and a demonic symbol is drawn. Traumatized, he goes to that same hospital where Jacob is hosting a party, searching for Michael. Michael goes to the psychiatry department of the hospital, where all the tragedies took place. He gets a vision of this and sees that Jacob as a child is present there. He immediately realizes that either he has to lose his life or Jacob does, as only the two of them are known by the spirits. Melody sees Michael and goes over to him, but Michael insists that she leaves. He successfully convinces her. While leaving, one of Melody's friends grabs her and she disappears. Michael searches for her and finds her on the top of the roof in the hands of Jacob, who has put a knife near her neck. The sight of this terrifies Michael, as he can't afford to lose any more friends. Jacob announces that he knew Michael would discover everything, and now he has to jump off the roof to end the curse, or else he will stab Melody. But the tables turn as Melody hits Jacob with her leg, and Michael fights with him and throws Jacob off the roof. Thinking the curse has ended with Jacob's demise, the pair feel relieved and leave Medellin. However, Jacob is still alive. He has lived to see another day. He picks up the knife which is on his right and which ends the curse, and all the trapped spirits from the further realm are free once and for all.